All right, Ed, we can't keep guilting our listeners to give us money. All right, help us out if you can, and if you want, we'd appreciate it. Let's go and get this episode started. If you're listening to the podcast version of the show, all the topics that we're going to talk about today are timestamped and listed in the show notes of the episode. So if you're looking to see if we covered anything in particular, if you just want to jump around, go ahead and check out the show notes and go from there. Ed, how about you go ahead and kick us off, man? What's the first thing on the agenda today?
Oh, man, big, pretty significant news for me because, like I said, Amazon Studios has hired former Marvel EIC Joe Quesada, who left the company not even a year ago. And basically, he has been hired to develop movies and TV. It's a first look deal, but focusing on existing and new comic book IP. So this guy is, like I said, he's been in the game since the 90s. He started at Valiant, Marvel, DC. He was an artist, then he moved into The Office. And like I said, he's been an executive producer on Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So he's has his foot into that side of the business. So he ran his own company, Event Comics, for 5 years. So like I said, 3 lines, Marvel, that kind of kept them going when comics were in the downslide. Marvel Knights, the Max line, and the Ultimate line, which you can say he's like one of the architects of the MCU.
Ed, real quick, you just went through this dude's entire, well, not even maybe his entire, but like a good chunk of his resume. Have you said his name yet? Have you said Joe Quesada?
Joe Quesada.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
Joe Quesada.
That's how long the list of his resume went. Was I forgot you said his name at the beginning.
former EIC Joe Quesada. So that's a big get for, like I said, Netflix has Mark Millar. So they're kind of basically taking Marvel's, probably one of their more successful EICs in recent history, and hoping he can recreate that magic with Amazon.
Yes, man.
Oh, shit.
There's a lot that they can do. There's a lot of... I mean, this immediately made me think about Grendel, which I'm a big fan of, and how there was that show that I know to be almost completely finished, and that they just dropped at Netflix, And so this is making me think, okay, we got we got Quesada.
I get them mixed up too.
I always think of them two as like a team, Palmiotti and Quesada, They're just in my head from the 90s as like this like ultimate team. And again, that's good because he's huge at Marvel and so they have that connection already. That like working connection. And, if they can get that Grendel thing picked up, if they're going to do this whole thing, like this article says that they are going to helm a Silk Spider Society show too.
Yeah, they got that side thing with Sony.
Yeah,
the non-MCU properties they can.
That was new to me. I didn't know there was a Marvel link between Prime Video and Sony. Maybe it's very obvious, and I'm just new to this, but I didn't know that there was that slight connection with Sony. So I mean, speaking of Spider-Man adjacent projects, right now Sony's got Silk Spider Society and then a Spider-Man Noir series currently in the works. So I guess maybe those will be available on Prime Video. Maybe that's where the link is.
Morbius series we all been wanting after that movie.
I'm so surprised. I believe the Craven movie is supposed
There's
to
a
still be coming
Craven movie
out,
coming out.
which is
That's right. Yeah, it's done, right?
I think so, yeah.
I also saw a hilarious meme that said that it still beat Shazam 2. Like Morbius still beat Shazam 2. At the
Oh wow, interesting. Yo, leave it up to Sony. I kind of respect Sony's complete faith in their project, or maybe like just this like sense of like frugalness of like we just spent the money, we're fucking putting it out.
Yeah, let's put it out.
Meanwhile, DC like spend like
look at all these memes. Put it out again.
no. Well, that, but also they're like, we spent however much we spent on that Batwoman movie, and instead we'd rather take the tax return, right?
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Well, yeah, it seems like they're going lean in that one direction. It's crazy. But do you guys remember, are we going to get that Ash series from Event, that superhero fireman? You guys remember him?
Oh, man.
Oh, that's a Joe Quesada thing, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
You think he'll try to, you think Joe Quesada will try to bring
going to
back
resurrect
some of his...
Ash, the superhero fireman? Does that sound good? Does it sound like a good idea?
The world needs it right now, dude. The world needs it.
Hey, man.
That wouldn't be the craziest thing, right? Did you guys
or the Valiant stuff is kind of, that kind of petered out with Bloodshot. I mean, they can give that a good Exo Man of War.
Yeah, but there's a lot.
that was his
there.
bread and butter.
Ninjak. He worked
So
on
are-
Ninjak back in the day. So,
Damn,
yeah.
that'd be cool if Quesada decides to like beef up or bring Valiant into like this prestige when it comes to live action, like to amplify what they've already kind of built on. I think that'd be cool, especially like
they're
his ties.
hanging around. There's like a Valiant title comes out every 6 months or so, and it's just like they're still hanging out. But
So did you guys catch in this Gizmodo article about this piece of news? Did you guys catch? I'm interpreting this as shade being thrown at like Disney Studios or the MCU. I don't know if you guys interpret it the same way, but in the article, Joe Quesada says that in response to like this news and him getting this deal, he says, "quote What was also clear." Oh, sorry. "Quote What it was also clear is that they're creating a collaborative environment and unique methodology that I'm surprised no one has yet thought to implement, but I'm certain will be quickly imitated." So keywords being Amazon Prime Video is creating a collaborative environment, unique methodology. It's like. Is that a shot at MCU saying like talking about like their how some people view like Kevin Feige's like reign of like being really tight about creative
it's
control?
like a template you use.
I mean, am I looking too deep into it? Are these
It
subliminals?
could be thinly veiled shot.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
all right. I listen to too much
sure.
rap, right? I'm always I'm always looking for
There's
beef
beef.
where
There's
maybe
beef.
there isn't beef. So. All right, question for you guys then, because I needed a quick recap as far as like what live action and comic adaptations Prime Studios has created, and ones that come to mind off the rip: Tick, Invincible, which might be my favorite.
Paper Girls. It was sick.
And I see that when I typed up was searching this on Google, Boys,
Yeah.
Boys, Doom Patrol.
Oh,
And I always thought those were just strictly HBO Max, but I guess maybe Prime Studios helped with maybe the or Amazon Studios maybe helped to develop them. Is that why
know.
they show up?
I'm not sure. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, weird. So Eli, it sounds like Paper Girls has been your favorite release through Amazon Studios.
dude, I loved it. I always heard of that book, and you always see it at the the big trade came out, I think around that same time, the giant omnibus. But like, I had never read it, and so I'm a big Jason Mantzoukas fan. So as soon as I saw he was in it, I was like, I'm gonna check this out, man. I love time travel. I love all this stuff, and so I watched it, and man, I chugged that shit so fast, and it made me go out. Not really go out. I guess I used Comixology Unlimited, and I chugged that entire series like in a week. That's a lot of books, man. And I was so psyched on it, and then I was like pissed to hear Mantzoukas like on podcasts being like, "It's canceled, it's canceled." And I'm like, what? Come on, man! It was so good. There's so much they could do with that
And
book,
that's such
too,
a
man. It's like
bad move, in my opinion, to like where they'll drop a show. Like Netflix has done this a lot, Prime, but the show's not even out a month, and they say it's not getting renewed. So for me, that basically is so counterintuitive. That basically cuts off a lot of people. Well, I'm not. Why the fuck am I going to invest
Kinda
time?
you lose
in
steam.
this?
you're shooting it in the foot, man. Before
It's
it
like,
even gets out the
let
gate.
it breathe, because like that Cowboy Bebop thing was like 2 days out, and it's like not renewed.
And the comic didn't even come out, and then they like canceled that or
the
something.
comic,
and-
the comic came out like it was. The comic's actually pretty good too, and I didn't mind the show, but I'm not as hardcore as some folks. But but yeah, it was like they had this all lined up, and it's just it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks when they do that. For some reason, they just don't have, for lack of a better term, the balls to like go. Because I don't even think they marketed Paper Girls very hard. I like barely saw anything.
I didn't even
about
know
it.
about it till I saw, because I listened to a lot of. I like Mantzoukas as well, so I just heard about it on like whatever shows he was on, like Comedy Bang Bang or something.
Right.
It's like, oh, there's a Paper Girl series. That's cool.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Comedy Bang Bang.
Yeah, like do me a favor. Be careful about hitting the table too much. 'Cause I'm picking some of that up.
Okay, sorry.
All good, all good. I think it's a good look overall. I thought the headline. I think it's a good look overall. Joe Quesada being someone that has built his name through comics. Indie, the big guys. Like Ed, like you mentioned, like being behind the scene or in the office as an editor. He's worked on a range of. He's also created the characters too, which I think is important as well. That he can bring to light like an idea and have it be so popular. I.e., Miles Morales, Miss Marvel, and then he's also got experience working on like live action shows. his accolades here include executive producing Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and then of course Marvel's Agent of Shield. Which say what you will if you like them personally, but let's be real, like there is all those shows kind of had a very diehard fan base, especially Agents of Shield.
Yeah, and like you can even see like that Netflix line is kind of like in that Marvel Knights Max, template because of how rated R a lot of those shows were.
Yeah. I guess long story short, I personally feel good knowing that if his name's going to be attached with an indie comic book being brought to life, I think that's going to be a good look.
And what you get with a guy like
Saga.
And what you get with a guy like that too is like you'll get someone who's actually going to promote this stuff.
Yeah,
because he's going to be at every convention. He does interviews all left, right. He's done a million interviews and he'll continue to do that. So we'll know something's going to drop.
Yeah.
Among the sea of shit they just dump on us week to week. So,
but you guys got me excited about a possible seeing some Valiant properties, given like the small screen
Ninja.
treatment. Yeah, that'd be sick. All
Vin
right.
Diesel returns. Bloodshot.
All right, Ed, you started off positive, and speaking about a company that's got their shit together when it comes to, really just got their shit together at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and switch gears, and we could talk about these Disney layoffs pertaining to Marvel Entertainment and how it impacts some of the Disney Plus MCU shows schedules as well. Not a lot of information on this. I'm really kind of bringing this up just because of the spotlight that was put on it from, in kind of like the Twitterverse. I'm sorry, in the comic/Twitterverse and among like other comic fans and people that kind of stay tuned or pay attention to industry news like this. But long story short, Disney, there's been long story short, the first round of Disney layoffs has happened this week and has claimed Marvel Entertainment chairman Ike Perlmutter as part of its first wave of cutoffs. There's supposed to be 3 in total, one happening later this month in April, and then I think over the summer as well. They announced these layoffs like it was a tour as well, right? Coming to a city and department near you. But one of the bigger names to get put on
Mandalorian season 4, round of layoffs. Number 8.
Yeah. So one of the bigger names to be put on the chopping block is now former Marvel Entertainment chairman Ike Perlmutter, who, if you're in comics and you pay attention to these industry news and like these big wigs behind these certain brands and companies, this was definitely someone that I think was, what's a nice way? I don't know. Polarizing, I guess is a good phrase, right? Like Ike Perlmutter. Well, then again, that would almost mean that if I say polarizing, that means the other side, there'd be a side that actually like him. And I don't know too many comic fans that are big fans of Ike Perlmutter. All right. So there was a lot of cheering and I guess praise at this news. And for those, not in the know, Disney CEO Bob Iger, when he got back as CEO, announced, a big company-wide cost-saving initiative, which was going to result in over 7,000 layoffs as part of like the strategic realignment for the company, air quotes. Ike Perlmutter was the chairman and CEO of Marvel Entertainment, and that division of Marvel specifically focuses on consumer products. So things like your comics, your toys, your global licenses, and stuff like that. So consumer products. But to his credit, though, he was also the man responsible for really kind of helping Marvel get out of bankruptcy and get back on their feet years ago. He was responsible for helping with the deal to sell Marvel to Disney, and then also selling some of their IPs out for like movie rights. So, to his credit, he did help the company in a major way back in the day. But throughout the course of that time since then, he's kind of racked up like a really strong list of just negative highlight. He's got a negative highlight reel, and I'll share some of those to give a little more insight into maybe why such a large a group of comic fans are kind of like, have been like kind of, happy about the news of his departure from Marvel Entertainment. So first and foremost, he's clashed with Kevin Feige numerous times and even tried to get him fired in 2015 before Bob Iger stepped in. There's also numerous stories of him just being very cheap and frugal. I guess that's like a reputation that he's got in the industry, is that he is willing to go overboard in cutting corners to save money. I think I read there's a New York Times article that goes into way more detail about this particular headline, but they mentioned that at one point he was installing cameras in the office to watch workers' productivity. And I don't know if that was like Marvel Comics office or whatever division, but that's an example. He's also notably, and this is where he really got a lot of flack, is that he notably pushed back against efforts for diversity in the MCU. Bob Iger himself, like the CEO himself, wrote in his book calling Perlmutter out about how outspoken Perlmutter was to include more diverse characters in the MCU, even going so far as to put up roadblocks in the way of movies like Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Black Widow. I think he said something to the effect, not verbatim, but something to the effect of like, a woman-led superhero movie wouldn't sell or wouldn't resonate with the audiences. So he was just kind of closed-minded, and on top of that, he's
old white guy. That's just what happens. That's just.
And are you saying I could have just saved a ton of wording, just saying hashtag old
white dude,
old white dude stuck in the times, right?
Yeah.
So not only that, but he also runs with like some shady corporate guys, and when you consider like the circles he runs in and his own politics, he's just kind of trouble, man. He's just kind of trouble overall. So he got the boot. He got the boot, all right, as part of like this giant Disney layoff. And there, like I said, there'll be more layoffs, which will suck to hear. But right now, everyone is at least championing the fact that we don't have to worry about Ike Perlmutter putting his hands into anything going on Marvel or causing any headaches or roadblock. And I think I think a lot of people are championing the headline of Ike getting the boot and getting kicked out. But what interests me the most out of that New York Times article about the layoffs and this particular division of Marvel Entertainment is that apparently they're going to be rolling. They fired Ike Perlmutter and gave him the reason that Marvel Entertainment is kind of a redundant department. It's kind of just redundant. So they're planning to roll Marvel Entertainment up into the larger, I guess, Disney fold. Yeah. And once again, like I said, Marvel Entertainment is different from Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios handles all the TV and the movie properties. Marvel Entertainment handling, the licensing, the comic book publishing, the toy business, and all that. So that's all going to be rolled up into Disney. And since we are a comic book podcast, obviously, that perks my ears because I'm interested to see how management will be if Disney decides to handle or make any major changes to editorial or the creative teams or how how involved they become with the comics. That's what definitely perks my ears with this news outside of the Perlmutter getting the boot. And then obviously this whole initiative that Bob Iger's got going on has already pushed out some of the other Disney Plus shows, the MCU Disney Plus shows that were originally supposed to be released like this year and next year. Obviously, I think right now I think the shows that have maintained their schedule are like Secret Invasion and Loki Season 2, and I think even What If Season 2 are all supposed to still come out later this year. There's not like a definitive date, I believe, for each one of these, but shows like Echo, Ironheart, and then the Agatha show are all TBD at the moment. Versus prior, they I think had like maybe not a definitive release date, but they had like a rough estimate. Right now, they're all TBD while Disney's figuring their shit out for the most part. So
that's crazy.
Nothing really to go from there, man. Like I said, that was just maybe the bigger headline from this. I don't think I think it's still too early to see like the impacts this will have on the comic side of the house. But there was no way I wasn't going to mention that Ike Perlmutter, who we have talked about on this show in certain disdain. There was no way I wasn't going to bring this up. So
yeah, the only thing that just anytime like a big corporation kind of, even though they've been part of this big corporation for a while, like in DC's been with Warner Brothers for so long, it's like, are they going to pay a staff are they going to treat comics like they treat an action figure? You know what I'm saying? Are they going to basically, we'll pay company X to make this, and we're getting money just to have them, basically they do all the work and we get a cut of it, and we don't have to have a staff of editors, artists, writers, even though most artists and writers are freelance folks anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm always afraid because they already do some stuff with IDW. They license some of the artist editions and some of the like Star Wars stuff, I think. So they've already dipping their toe into properties they have. Whether do we keep a staff of creatives or do we just license it out to smaller companies and give them parameters to work from? But then we just get, what I'm saying? So that's always my fear of like, how's this going to affect the final
Yeah.
You know, what I loved in the first place is the comic books. Is it going to be treated as like a doll or an action figure or something?
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
And I think this, I wanted to bring this up because I feel like there's definitely a lot of uncertainty in the industry as is. I mean, we're seeing, companies like Aftershock, declare bankruptcy. We're seeing, major shifts in comic distribution, right? Like no longer is Diamond the sole, a monopoly in distribution, and you've got like mergers happening, and even just speaking, hyper focused on the Marvel side, like Marvel is losing some of like their premier big A-list writers and creative teams as they go venture into independent creator-owned stuff, right? Like Jason Aaron just wrapped up his Avengers run, a seminal premier, comic book title. I think for the most part, he has no plans to continue working with Marvel. He's going to do the independent stuff. Same thing with Donny Cates, right? Like big name at Marvel is now, more focused on the independent stuff. So just a lot of like, shaky ground, I think, in the comic book industry in general, and not not out of fear or negativity, and I don't say that negatively. I say like just there's a lot of opportunity. I guess if I'm looking positive,
the game is changing.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
And come on, let's get some.
As a creator myself too, I can only see where they want to do that. It's like I could work every day super hard, tirelessly, and not own any of the things I'm creating. Have no right to do anything with them after they leave my head to the paper, and then I never own or see anything about it again. Yeah, sure, the paycheck's probably better, but at this point, I have a certain notoriety. Jason Aaron destroyed that Avengers run, so now he can go and make whatever he sees fit. He can create it. He can get all the money or whatever. He can feel that creative control and then do what he wants with it,
Yeah.
Southern bastards,
of course,
please come back.
For the love of God.
For
the love of God.
Like, it's amazing. And especially someone like Donny Cates, too, who kind of seems to be able to do both, because isn't he still doing Marvel titles, and he's got Vanish, and he's got his whole publishing company on his own. So he's found this intermediate kind of position where he's able to, like, bust things out on both sides. It's this uber creative dude who seems like
he wants to do giant swords with every company. We'll have giant, powerful swords.
Yes.
The minute
he loves swords, man.
The minute he pitches an idea to Marvel, and they're like, I don't know.
So when's the giant sword come into play here? Let's cut the shit. When's this giant sword coming in?
They're like, I don't know if we could accommodate that for the 5th time, Donnie. He's like, fuck this shit. I'm going solo.
Okay, guys. Giant axe. Yeah. Oh, now we're talking.
Ed, I think you said it best, Ed. The game is changing, and this news right here is, just another. It's just more ammo for it, man. All right, let's keep our focus on the world of comic books specifically. And Eli, you got a good topic, man. You brought a good topic to the table. Go ahead and introduce that.
All right. Well, yesterday, Badr and I seemed to have some fun via chat, via text with this amazing heritage auction stuff. Now, this is like a focus less on the creative side and more on this, like, the collectability of this entire world that we love so much. Like, I'm not saying that I'm a big slab dude. I don't really like slabs. I've got a couple slabs. I'm not going to lie that the collectability factor is something that always grabs me right down in the, Jack Kirby's testicles kind of thing. Like, it's like, it grabs me there, like that's where the collectability factor is a huge thing. It's definitely something that's passed down from my dad. This is something like we do together to the point where one day he's like, oh man, I was bidding on this Sergio Aragonés original thing and I lost. I'm so pissed. And I was like, Dad, I just won that for you. And he's like, what the hell?
That's really sweet.
This is something.
We could have saved so much money. I didn't know it was you, son of a bitch.
I know. That's exactly what we're like, damn it. We can never do this again.
Yeah.
Seriously, like a couple $1,000s that we like messed each other with. And
damn.
God, what is going
when
on?
When a father and son undercut each other, what type of family is that? There's no foundation, damn it.
I know. I was like, we need this communication, Father. And Mom calls me the next day being like, Eli, your dad has enough comics. He doesn't need, don't let him bid anymore.
Gotcha.
You didn't hear that, Dad. Damn it. Anyway, so there was a huge one yesterday, and I think there's one Today's April 1st. I don't know if you want a timestamp on it, but yesterday at the end of April or end of March, and today and then tomorrow I think is another big one. And what really drew me to it, I'm a huge Turtles guy, and Kevin Eastman, he puts things in there like from his obviously vast basement. I mean, I think about these dudes' basements and I'm like, you're sitting on millions of dollars and you have no idea. It's insane. Like, so Kevin Eastman is seemingly liquidating his basement and he put up all this amazing shit, man. It's amazing to me. The same with other people I love, like Matt Wagner. He's like, oh, I just found these like Devil by the Deed color plates and he's like putting them up for sale. You know, there's these comic book creators, like, you gotta sell your closet junk. I'm a big fan of. I made $1,000 off my old T-shirts. You know, you never know what's in your closet.
Oh, dude,
man.
don't even get me started on the retro T-shirt market. But to your point,
it's insane.
Comic creators' spring cleaning is vastly different than ours, right?
Yeah.
They're cleaning out thousands. You know, I'm cleaning out a free donation, of old clothes.
There was that one, was it Todd McFarlane, like maybe last year or so? He's like just found like a page from like Amazing Spider-Man 300 in his closet. It's like, oh, there's 20 grand right there for you.
Yeah. He's someone that kills in the heritage auction market too.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, some of it's not so great because it's like these creators don't see that money. Mm-hmm. You know, and so that's tough. And then you'll get the thing where it's like, oh, this was bought from Jack Kirby from an art dealer, and Jack got paid like $50 for it, and now it's sold for like 50.
Yeah. I think it depends on the gallery, because I've heard that there's some galleries. It's a very small minority, mind you, but they will, like, if they sell something of high value, they will cut like a little something for the original artist, which is cool.
That's good.
But that's like, so that's in the minority.
And like for me, I'm saying like I'm not as big into the slabbed books. Like that to me is like my collectible in jail.
Yeah.
It's like I can't touch it. I can't do 100% of the things I love about this thing. You know, I've got a couple over there. It's fine, but original art to me is like, I own a piece of this thing. Like, it's bones, it's blood, it's body. You know, like I love these things, and the ultimate way to collect this thing is to own the original art. You know, like I have these pages, and they didn't cost me much. They're from the Mighty Mutanimals, you know, Archie books from when I was a kid, and like I own these pages now. And it's like this direct line, not only to my childhood, but to like the creator itself. And it's like the ultimate thing from this book that I love so much, you know? So it's like when I see these heritage auctions and I see these original art pieces, like, cause yesterday, Badr, there were so many things in there, like, you know, Peanut strips and Wally Wood Daredevil and, you know, other Turtles covers. Like, you know, there was a couple Mirage pages, but there was a bunch of covers from IDW. That's what I picked up, is this like full color, all 4 Turtles Kevin Eastman piece that I thought went for like way less than it should have, which is probably why I won it. But like, you know, it's just amazing to see all these things and know that like that the focus is being put on the like blood and guts of this amazing thing we love so much.
Well said, Eli. Well said. Eli, be careful of the table bumps.
Shit, man. I was all
good.
animated
No,
there.
you're excited. All good. I'm gonna go ahead and add some more context to what Eli is sharing, because he's got me hyped, and he got me hyped yesterday. So currently right now, Heritage Auctions, which is one of the, I think they claim to be the world's largest collectibles auctioneer, which I won't debate that. They probably are.
They seem to have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they are in the middle at the time of this recording. And to Eli's point, you know, they're you know, it's April 1st when we're recording this. Which, sidebar, has been an interesting day of trying to read comic headlines and news, and you're like, "Fuck, it's an April Fool's joke, son of a bitch." But anyways, Heritage Auctions is in the middle of this massive 4-day comic and comic art signature auction. Auction going on, and yesterday was the, I believe, I think it was the third. It was the third day. The first day made headlines because they set a record for selling the a copy of Detective Comics number 27, so the first appearance of Batman, for a record-tying $1.74 million. $1.74 million dollars. And you know, and I say record-tying because just a couple, I think less than 2 years ago. No, I'm sorry, in less than 3 years, this is the second time they've made this record. They've already sold a copy of number 27. The interesting thing about this most recent one is that it's a CGC graded book, so it's like Eli's been saying, it's been slabbed, and the condition has been ranked as a 6.0, which is less than what the previous one. And I don't have that information pulled up right now, but the previous one was a much higher graded, and it sold for I believe the same amount or something similar. So even this lesser graded copy still managed to tie, right? Tie for the record of a highest selling, a copy of this book. And obviously,
now this one says it's got Bob Kane left a message written in ink on its first page to his buddy, Robert.
Thanks for those ideas, Bill. Sucker.
Ed, that's still too soon.
Too soon.
It's harsh. That sucks to hear. Oh God. Oh man. Rest in peace, Bill Finger, man. We appreciate your goddamn contributions. But yeah, man. Which I think kind of plays into Eli's points about like the guts and bones, right? Like to have. Even though you won't be able to see, right? It's a slab book. You'll probably never be able to see that fucking message, right?
These ones, I think I changed my tune on. You know, I don't want to own Detective Comics unslabbed.
but just it's sticking just to the first day. That first day, apparently, I think this is a Heritage Auctions article I'm reading too. Yeah, they do a really good job of writing write-ups about. Writing write-ups about like the results of auctions and how it went. So I'm always, they do a good job of writing the articles. But the first day of this 4-day auction, in less than 2 hours, and just selling through 45 items of the entire lot, they were already at 7.5 million in 2 hours and only through 45 items, right? Which is crazy. So they sold Detective Comics number 27 for 1.74 million. Fun fact, real quick, before I move on from that. Apparently, there are only 75 copies known to exist in any condition, and only 14 graded higher than the one offered in this auction. So there's only 14 that are graded higher than 6.0. And a 6.0 graded comic it's not mint. It's kind of, it's definitely got like shows of wear, and I don't know the full specifics, but it's kind of it's not a beat up copy, but it's not it ain't a good copy. It's not a perfect copy. So that was a pretty wild stat, right? Only 75 known to exist.
Yeah.
Imagine the price of these things, 5-10 years from now.
And you got to understand, just at the time, that's like comics it's like disposable entertainment. It was like a newspaper.
You were using them for toilet paper.
You would read it and just like roll it up and toss it in the corner or throw it away.
Exactly.
You didn't really
throw it in your back pocket with your slingshot.
Sure. So
now I just saw a trailer for this crazy movie too about this father
Selling
who
Superman.
was like selling Superman. Yeah, that looks insane, man. His wife was like, I was so pissed. He chose his comics over me. I dumped him. And his kids are like, there's $1 million in this short box. And then it's like a closet full of short boxes.
Which, to tie all that together, so this first day auction, right? So Detective Comics number 27 sells. I think in the same auction or in the same lot, you also had Detective Comics number 33, so that's the first comic book to tell Batman's origin story. That sold for $288,000. And then you had a CGC graded 8.0 copy of Batman number 1. That sold for $1.1 million. And I believe it was only I think it's either Batman number 1 or the Detective Comics. One of those was part of this collection, which Eli referenced. It belonged to this to the now deceased father. Now deceased guy that owned over 300,000 books. Wow. And they were all hidden in this attic. And his son recently found his collection in 2020. And he's going through the process of like grading them and, getting an estimate. And they're making a documentary about all of that called Selling Superman. And some of these books that sold in the first day of this auction were part of that collection. So they have like this special ribbon on the CGC label to let you know, like, hey, this is part of this collection. Oh, yeah. So like, cool. So yeah, there's Heritage Auctions is putting a spotlight on comic books in the seller market in a very interesting way, like interesting pieces of like history. If we're looking at comic books as pieces of history, it's been fascinating to see what they sell for. Some of these like hidden notes and the stories behind the collectors. Man, yeah. I can see why Eli's so hyped. And to add to this, yesterday, I'm last minute. And big shout out to Eli. I respect it too, man. I appreciate you hopping on last minute. I texted Eli last minute when Cesar had to bail. I was like, Eli, I need you for tomorrow's show. Let's make this shit happen. What's the topic you want to discuss? He was like, bro, you got to check out. They're doing a live auction right now on Heritage Auctions. Check it out. And I won't lie, I was like, that's not really my thing. I can't afford none of that. What's the point of me even like feeling bad about my financial situation? Right. And I sell on Whatnot. So I'm like, it can't be that much better. I was fucking wrong, Ed. That shit was awesome. It was day 2 of this massive 4-day comic and comic art auction. And they were...
So you're comparing this to Whatnot?
Oh, man. I like a fool. Dude, I was just being lazy. I was just looking for an excuse not to have
Arms
to like...
folded. Not as good as Whatnot.
Like a fool. I admit I was fucking foolish, thinking that this wasn't going to be pristine and professional. It was awesome. They had a professional auctioneer selling
they don't always
these
have
books. And, dude, it was just like... It was like watching a heist movie. Before like the spy or protagonist does the big steal, right? Like he's in the auction house and he's got like, you know, his buddy auctioning and his buddy's like, I don't know if we can afford this, Rick. You got to get us out of here quick. $5 million. Dude, it was just like that. The auctioneer was so good. Can I get a 5,000? 5,000?
Oh,
5,000?
awesome.
Dude, and they had so much personality. Like I was like, damn. I could be leveling up my Whatnot shows in such a big way. They were inserting jokes, quips. They were knowledgeable about the books. I think the auction, I sat through like an hour and a half of that auction, and some of the highlights of what I seen sell, and Eli, feel free to jump in. So there was a first appearance of Ghost Rider, not the actual page, but like a page from the comic of his first appearance, with art by Mark Plug. It was Marvel Spotlight number 5,
Mike Plug.
Story page 10, Ghost Rider's first appearance, original art from 1972. It sold for $40,800. You had a Peach, and then you had more updated and more recent comic art. For example, there was a Peach Momoko Strange Academy #1 Magic variant that sold for $19,200. Right, that book is maybe, I don't know, it's definitely less than 5 years old.
She hasn't been around that long.
But to Eli's point, it is awesome to see original comic art being treated with this reverence and you know, to bring in this much money. You know, I think that's only going to benefit, I think, you know.
Her cover rates just went up.
Oh, for
sure.
that auction. Big time. But I think it's only going to bring more attention to, you know, treating comic books and especially like comic art as like serious, not only serious investments, but I think there's going to be a certain air of like, you know, prestige to it. You know, if it can bring in this much money and like pages that, you know, I don't know, some of these pages you're like, what? It sold for how much? And it doesn't even have the main character on it?
It's like non-splash
you know,
pages. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You could tell like the people bidding are like, you know, passionate that like, you know, see it for the artistic merit that it is.
It's like a document, a historical document. Too,
Well said. You know? Well said. I was really surprised to see and man, the variety of things you saw in this and in the auction was awesome. So you had like pages from Marvel Comics. You had like a Jim Starlin Superman cover. That one sold for like 11.5.
That Jim Starlin like Magus pinup thing was insane too.
Yeah. They had they had several Charles Schultz peanut strips as well. The highest selling one that I stayed or got to see was a Charles Schultz Peanut Sunday comic strip featuring World War I flying ace Snoopy. And this was art from 1981, so not even like the oldest peanut strip. And that one sold for $50,000. Now, keep in mind, all of these prices I'm naming for the most part include the 20% buyer's premium on top of the sold price. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Comic books,
dude. Honestly, they sold like there was a page from the Incal too, Mobius.
Oh wow!
And that's like 16,800. Like honestly, I think that's low for that. Like I've seen him at cons for like 20,000, 25.
Especially since he's no longer with us. You know that usually adds a good amount of money to that price.
So like I said, that was day 3, I believe. Yeah, that was day 3 of the 4-day auction house or the 4-day auction, and that one ended at 13 million and 13 million. A little, actually, that one ended north of 13 million. So.
Yeah, dude, it's live right now. Sorry, I don't know if you just heard it pop in.
Eli doesn't talk.
4,000.
Eli doesn't talk the rest of the show. You just hear him angrily bidding. Dad,
Oh
what'd
my
I
God.
say about this shit, man?
Not again.
So yeah. So
Oh man, yeah, these are all slabs though. It's
long
funny.
story short, comic book art is one hell of an industry right now. Yeah, comic book art selling and just auctioning is pretty impressive to see. If you've never watched a live auction of like comic art and original stuff, I highly recommend checking out one of these heritage auctions ones. Unfortunately, like I said, by the time this episode airs, this 4-day extravaganza they got going on is going to end. But they do this. I mean, they are regularly in the news. Like they are always making headlines like, Batman #1 sells for record breaking. So it'll only be a matter of time before they come across
No, I'm not
another big lot.
100% if it's. I think it's the same site, but they usually keep those up and they say what it sold for.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
As a
yeah.
Right,
reference.
yeah, you can price
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
out. You can see what
So
past.
you can still
auctions
check
went
it
for.
out. What sold?
Also-
how much?
And another thing I'll say too, man, and I feel like a lot of people, like at cons, these might be a table you pass by, which is the table that's just like scattered with original art. You might not check it out because you're looking for the short boxes, the long boxes, whatever you want. But I would urge everyone to take a second and look through some of those tables because, and just think about your favorite comic. Think about something you read as a kid or whatever, and go look for something. Because like one of the crown jewels of my collection at this point is a page from Generation X #1, the first introduction of Sync in that book.
Wow.
It's like page 9, Chris Bichello.
Oh, so you got it before they had to
it's just
change
like-
the name, right? Or is it?
No, it's Gen X always.
Oh, I'm
stayed.
thinking Gen 13 had to change their name. My bad.
Gen 13 had to
That's
change.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so and that was my favorite comic as a kid. Chris Bichello was like my favorite, and like so having that again, like I said, the connection to that book of my youth that I love. I look at it every day,
That's cool.
and it's just like, it fills the love and fuels. And as an artist and creator, I can get in there now and see like, paste ups. I can see what's covered up. I
Yeah.
can see the use of whiteout. I have, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I have a Sam Keith Marvel Comics Presents page too. And this thing is like insane where there's like layers of cut out stuff.
Yeah.
There's like photocopied images. There's layers of ink and whiteout and ink and all this stuff. And it's like, it's just amazing to see, to learn from, and to like, help yourself in your own creative endeavors. It's absolutely beautiful.
Well said. Well said. I love that. Yeah, prints are cool, but ain't nothing like getting the original piece of art that your favorite artist put his blood, sweat, tears, and even coffee stain on. All right,
Absolutely.
imagine owning a piece
Yeah.
of like OG Jack Kirby,
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic Four
Cigarettes,
with the cigarette
burns.
burns. Right, that's a piece of history,
insane.
man. Come on, that's good stuff. Awesome topic, Eli. Thank you. All right, let's continue. We got one more. We got plenty of comic topics, but this next one is let's bring it to the present day.
Oh.
Ed, you got one for DC and their dawn of DC, right?
I thought this was pretty funny. This I just saw pop up maybe a day or two ago. Well, DC has a new trailer promoting the dawn of DC. It's like DC trailer promoting comics. I'm like, no shit. So it was basically like this 30-second video that they're going to put on HBO Max. I guess they need something on there since they're taking everything else off. And AEW wrestling. So it's going to air this little like video, basically like a motion comics
comic
video.
trailer.
I was like expecting something more, and it's like art by Jeff Spokes, featuring the usual cast of characters, the main 7, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the usual suspects on a DC thing. So, but the timing of this is funny to me because the Dawn of DC started. We're in April, guys. Dawn of DC started in January. So their timing is, and then it's not going to air on HBO Max and AEW till May. So it premiered at MegaCon, which is going on this weekend currently, and they're not going to start really promoting. Go figure, DC promoting comic books until May of this year. So this is like another kind of like we kind of can time it like the Olympics. Like every 4 years we get another reboot, soft reboot, basically an excuse to put out a bunch of number ones to sell. So it's basically like two, and the language they use is so like definitely done in a boardroom, like a corporate boardroom. So they refer to it. It's a It's a line-wide, multi-event narrative composed of over 20 individual comic book titles. That's their selling phrase. I'm like, so comics? And it's like forging the future one hero at a time. So it's like 20 new titles. I'm sure 15 of them being Batman related. And so it's just, I thought it was basically year long. It's going to be 2023. Everything, they're trying to do a refresh with, along with the movie side with James Gunn. I know he wants to unify the two, have them more symbiotic, I guess. But it's just the timing of this is funny, and the video is just so like generic to me. I've seen Kickstarter campaign videos better than this video.
Yeah, Ed, I told you I give them an A for effort. Execution leaves much to be desired.
A little pat on us. Nice.
Yeah. No, your heart
as a Southerner, you'd say, "Oh, bless your heart."
Yeah, exactly.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, your heart's in the right place. Little too late. Well, I guess whatever. It's still got a couple. It's supposed to be a year-long thing, so I guess
something they should have
middle
done
of the year.
Years ago.
I agree. But I think the positives is the fact that they're at least giving this a shot. They're putting this on channels that I think would where their audience is, right? HBO Max, AEW TV. I think if you like wrestling, there's a lot of overlap there.
There's
HBO
another
Max
toxic fan group to bring into the fold.
But imagine, and I'll also give credit to Jeff Spokes, who I'm not too familiar with on the art side. But I do like the way he draws. I mean, to me, he's kind of like a cross between Dan Mora and Adam Hughes. Like, he's got a really cool sense of cartoonness, like with the colors, and then like kind of the realism. I think the art looks good. But it got me thinking, like, imagine if they get their feet underneath them and they really start leaning in on pumping these trailers out, like perfecting them, getting them better, a little more like cinematic. Because to your point, it does feel very generic. It's like, okay, they just need to get this shit out quick. Let's just do a motion comic style trailer.
Maybe it'll be in time for the first set of trades. I don't know. I don't know if that's the timing.
But imagine them playing like this kind of trailer in a theater and like in IMAX on the huge screen right before like a Shazam or Aquaman plays, and like a comic retailer.
Maybe
on
the
site.
Super Bowl. That would have been a good spot. A lot of people.
But imagine them playing it in like theaters and having like a comic shop retailer there to like sign people up or take pre-orders. I think that's like super idealistic, but I think like I said, I give them A for effort. It's not terrible.
Absolutely. And it just feels like the focus of this isn't us. Like, it's not
that's
like
true.
Seasoned
That's
readers.
True.
And I can get if like the biggest complaint that people have about comics is like, where do I begin? It's at number 350. Like, I don't know where to start. So it's like when they're targeting a new reader, they're like, here's all these new number ones. You don't have to know anything more than you already know about Batman and Superman. So it's like you can hop right in. I guess it's like a valiant effort. Not to use a pun there, but like
it's better than a valiant effort.
It's better than nothing.
It's better than what's
better than nothing.
Yes,
it's better than nothing, and I think we've definitely all talked about like the things they could be trying and should be doing to promote comics, and so better than nothing. I give them an A for effort for sure. All right,
yeah, for sure.
You
Dawn of DC, better than nothing.
If they really want to impress me, because to Eli's point, this is definitely for like your beginner readers, your comic curious newbies, people that go watch these movies and you want to capitalize on them being interested in like of the moment. But if they want to get a seasoned reader and collector like myself and you guys, I want to see them have like fucking Spike Lee direct a comic book trailer, right? Like, it's got to be the comics, man. It's got to be the comics.
Like those old Levi commercials.
Just fucking shoot it
like
straight.
Like with Rob
to
Liefeld?
Yeah, I want this shit to feel like cinematic. I want some fucking AC/DC playing like in the back, right? Just something to like get my blood pumping. Like, fuck yeah, I like comic books.
Yeah, I'd rather see.
And they have a lot of cartoons,
or even
too.
Jim
like,
Lee.
DC does a lot of cartoon work.
Even Jim Lee. Jim Lee and Spike Lee, the Lee brothers.
Dude, that is a campaign waiting to happen, all right?
Remember when he used to wear the Malcolm X hat?
Yes.
Because he thought it was X-Men?
Is that the story?
That's what we joke. I don't know. It seems kind of
that's
like
a short box
disingenuous.
Canon. That's a short box canon.
It's
All right. Jim Lee was wearing that X hat because he thought it was X-Men. All right. Speaking of comics making their way onto the small screen, I've got one for you guys here. I think that might have been a terrible segue, but fuck it. TMNT, Last Ronin is becoming a video game. All right. This one was announced. I think out of all the news, this one was probably announced the what is it? This is probably the oldest piece of news out of all the stuff we've brought up so far. But Last Ronin, man, it got announced as that they're doing a video game version of that. I found this Polygon article that did a good job of breaking down everything, but everything you really need to know was in that headline. The graphic novel that came out in 2020, The Last Ronin, which I think it's safe to say, like, really put. Not saying that the TMNT comics were lackluster or dying, but because I know like it's got a passionate fan base.
Yeah.
But I feel like Last Ronin put that shit. That felt like a moment. You know, like in 2020, I think that book ended up on a lot of people's like favorite. I think we've talked about it very highly.
And unfortunately, it had a lot of weird delays through the whole thing, so it's
a lot.
But
and its original artist left and stuff.
And it's like, but they are doing the kind of the prequel series now.
Yeah,
they're starting to do that. So
exactly, it kind of
there's
brought
your DLC.
Exactly, it kind of brought new life to and a new focus, I think, and a new energy to the TMNT comics and whatnot. So, due to the popularity of that, and I think what's also impressive too is that it's so recent, right?
Yeah.
Like it's only maybe a 3-year-old book or whatnot, maybe even less than 3 years, but it's already getting a video game based on the popularity, based on the feedback and things like that. So it's looking like Kevin Eastman.
Figures. I mean, Target has Last Ronin action figure.
Yeah, they do.
I own,
and we don't
one or
get
two of
figures
those.
like just based on comics,
Yeah.
especially for Turtles. I guess I'm a huge Turtles collector,
Yeah.
so like to get these comic-based figs is like insane.
And those figs look badass, by the way. I own one or two of them, and I
Do you get I love the Universal Monster crossovers. Did you
man,
get
those are
those?
so good.
They are cool.
Yeah,
Those are awesome.
I've gotten all those.
Amazing.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah.
But as far
They just put out a Casey for the last.
What's Casey?
What was it? Haulathon.
I
can't
saw
remember now.
Leonardo's The Invisible Man just came out, I think.
and then
recently.
Raphael
just came out,
is
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. That one looks cool.
And then
But as far as this video game adaptation, they interviewed someone by the name of Doug Rosen. He's a senior vice president for games and emerging media at Paramount Global, so the company that owns the rights of TMNT. And he had a lot to share about the video game adaptation. He's saying that it's going to be darker, more mature, so it's going to be pretty faithful to the tone of Last Ronin. It's going to be a single-character game, and he likened it to single-player games like God of War. That was kind of like the big, kind of catchy part of the headline, is that this supposedly this Last Ronin game is going to be a third-person action role-playing game similar to like the God of War titles. But it sounds like they want to definitely stay faithful to like that more grittier, darker, mature tone that Last Ronin introduced, which I think played a big part in its popularity. The fact that we basically kind of got the Dark Knight Returns for TMNT. I know that was like a big appeal to me. It was like the tone and how serious it was. So
you get to see like an older like April, and then they know that Casey.
Dude, I mean, come on, post-apocalyptic fucking futuristic stories are like just cash grabs for me. I'm a sucker
I love that
for
stuff.
those, right? So
And you get to see the scene too where each turtle dies, and it's like Raph
shit's
is
sad.
like impaled.
Yeah,
and,
that shit
like,
is sad.
it's just crazy to see. It's not what I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to see these guys die. But like,
About time.
it's just crazy to see. You're like, what?
I'm about to call Pete on your ass.
But it'd be cool like this. But it'd be cool if you could even like play in those flashbacks.
That would be
where-
tight. That'd be tight.
Yeah,
Oh
that'd be
yeah,
awesome.
or like the Kevin Eastman art comes
Yeah.
up. Like there was a Wii game I think where they used like Jim Lawson art,
Nice.
like for segues and stuff. It was really cool.
Like most of these awesome like headlines that just immediately grab my attention, especially for video game adaptations. Of course, this one is like years off from even seeing anything substantial.
takes a
They
long
didn't even name the studio in the article at all. So no studio has been named, no release date, no trailers, no nothing other than like those very high concepts that were shared. But the good news, I guess there's a little bit of good news because they do have one new TMNT game coming out in the very near future to coincide with the new animated movie, the TMNT Mutant Mayhem. They're releasing like a a Roblox. I don't know if it's a DLC or just a Roblox style game of Mutant Mayhem, but that's supposed to be coming out, in time for the movie. So it's the same studio. Oh, it's the studio. I'm sorry. It's being developed by Game Fam, the same studio behind Sonic the Hedgehog's Roblox game, Sonic Speed Simulator. So I guess it's Roblox, just Roblox plus whatever IP, and they produce games
Lego.
like that.
Yeah.
So
Printing money for that.
so that's probably outside of like the Ike Perlmutter and the Marvel Entertainment, I think this last Ronin one is going to be one that I kind of keep track of very closely.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
All right, gents, we just got through our list in pretty good time, man. Really good time. Eli, I got to say, if I had to pick my favorite thing to talk about so far, it has been seeing your hype about the Heritage Auctions and comic art. You got me hyped.
I love it, man.
But that was the last headline we'll be talking about today, listeners. Obviously, we didn't get to everything that happened this past month. There's still, a lot of headlines that we skipped over. And honestly, by the time this episode airs, I'm sure that, some of the things we have already talked about will either be outdated or even like updated. There might be further developments to some of the things that we have discussed already. So we'll keep an eye out on those things, and we'll report back if there's anything new or significant to talk about. Like I said, I definitely want to pay close attention to what's going on with Disney and Marvel Entertainment, and hopefully, we'll see a last Ronin trailer by end of the year. It'd be awesome that's my that's my Christmas gift I want. I just want a trailer for this last Ronin God of War video game they're promising. Yeah, exactly. A little teaser, All right, I think it's now a perfect time to shift gears into our next topic and look to the future of comics overall. Let's take a look at what new titles will be hitting shops next month. Let's go ahead and grab a fistful of comics.
You can either have a mouthful of teeth or a fistful of comics.
Fistful of Comics is a segment dedicated to helping all you comic-curious newbies and loyal Wednesday warriors find the best new comics, find the best new starting points, and creative teams that the wide world... and creative teams that this wide world of comics has to offer. And to help us accomplish that goal, we've called on our friend Ben Kingsbury, the owner of Jacksonville's premier comic shop, Gotham City Limit. He's here to take us to the limit when it comes to our comic shopping experience. He's got a list of his top 3 recommendations when it comes to comic books coming out soon that are worthy of your time and attention. So let's go ahead and get the music going and kick things off. All right, Eli, like I said, this is the part where you can pull up that list, and we'll get going. All right. The first one he's got on his list caters to anyone like me that has been eagerly looking forward to the new season of Peacemaker, or really just any Peacemaker content to fill that huge void that John Cena and his crew has left, all right? If you're craving for Peacemaker comics or content in general, this one's for you, all right? Here's Ben to kick us off.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Here's 3 comics you should add to your comic short box ASAP. I'm Ben K, representing Gotham City Limit in Jacksonville, Florida. Let's take it to the limit. First up, DC Comics presents Peacemaker Tries Hard, number 1 of a 6-part series. I think James Gunn's vision of having a cohesive comic and entertainment DCU is brilliant, and I can confirm the new Peacemaker comic is written in the hilarious style of the hit TV show. This is an easy must-add for any fan of said show. Plus, here's one spoiler from the first issue. Deathstroke.
Mic drop. You seen that? Ben, man, he just left it at that. Mic drop moment right there. Peacemaker Tries Hard, number 1, comes out May 2nd. All right, next up on the list isn't just a solid choice for anyone looking for something more on the scary / horror side of comics. But in true Ben fashion, he's managed to make this next recommendation a classic G.I. Joe, the more you know kind of moment, all right? You're going to learn something new, all right? I won't spoil it. Here's Ben.
One of the truly underrated sides to collecting and reading comics is the additional vocabulary you run into if you do indeed read the stories. I often read comics as a kid with the dictionary next to me, and I credit comics for my love of reading to this day. So why the vocab diatribe? Well, Oni Press presents Lamentation number 1, To Lament. Had to look that one up. To express grief or to regret deeply. A comic written from the mind's eye of master storyteller Cullen Bunn comes a theater experience you're apparently going to regret going to, based on that title, Theater Horror Alley This Way.
The more you know. Bing! There you go. Who says that you don't learn, some new vocab, here on the show? Not only do you learn how to not pronounce it if you listen to me pronouncing certain words, then you got Ben teaching you, new definitions. All right, once again, that was Lamentation number 1. That comes out May 3rd through Oni Press. And last but not least, all right, this last comic on Ben's list is very appropriate considering our present company and his love of the web slinger. Here's Ben one more time to take us home with his last recommendation.
Amazing Spider-Man, whom I love, comes out so often it can feel like filler stories, seemingly always waiting for the next big event to happen. Well, Amazing Spider-Man number 25 has promised to be the most shocking Spider-Man story in 50 years. They warn your heart isn't ready for this. And while I have no insider information, I fear a certain redhead is headed for doom. Well, another week is come and gone, and I'm still Ben K, representing Gotham City Limit in Jacksonville, Florida. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility, and always take it to the limit.
All right, gents, we just got taken to the limit. All right, we just got not like where we at right now. All right, so that was Amazing Spider-Man number 25. That comes out May 10th. And once again, to recap our options for today, we got Peacemaker Tries Hard number 1, Lamentation number 1, and Amazing Spider-Man number 25. Eli, Ed, of those 3 options we got, which one are you most interested in? Which one is more than likely going to land on your pull list? Eli, how about you?
Well, first I'm gonna go through here. Like, unfortunately for me, Peacemaker hasn't crossed my path. I haven't seen the show other than the Suicide Squad movie, so I probably won't be picking that one up. But maybe in the future once I see the show. Amazing Spiznai, it's already in there. It's already in the pull list. I'm gonna read it. So that's nothing new. Lamentation, now that seems cool. I knew that word because it's one of the title cards from Clerks, and I did a English project about that in high school where I looked up all the words. So I knew that one. It just looks different. It looks new. It's like a fresh story. We need to support these types of stories in comics. We can't always be buying Amazing Spiznai, Shout out to my boy Manus. That's what he always calls it. He's my co-host on Can I Thwipp It. Anyway, but Lamentation seems interesting to me. It seems like a different story. I love reading like kind of gothic horror stuff, so I'm going to choose Lamentation.
And look at this well-read dude over here. I know the word lamentation. I did an English project. We get it, Eli. You're smart, right?
It's still based on comics like stuff, Clerks,
I got you. I'm messing with you. All right, Ed, what about you, man? What's your pick?
Oh, Lamentations, easily. Out of the 2,
is it because you guys just like saying the word lamentation? Because I like saying it too.
It's part of it.
I like Cullen Bunn, and I do like superhero stuff, of course, but I'm just not as into it. I like the weirder, horror, kind of stranger stuff. So, and I like Cullen Bunn. He's a great writer. So, like I said, I'm definitely picking that one up.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to be the odd man out and say Peacemaker Tries Hard number 1. Nice. For the main reason, outside of I really did enjoy the show, and if this is kind of in the same vein and tone as the show, then yeah, I'm right there. But but beyond that, it's because Kyle Starks is writing it, and I've been reading I Hate This Place, or I Fuck This Place if you get the unedited covers, and it's great, man. So I'm Kyle Starks is just on my radar right now, and I've got a lot of appreciation of what he's doing, and this cover by Chris Anka is pretty badass. So they've got me by the cover. They've got me by a writer that I'm really interested in and a character that, is kind of on my mind. So I'm going to go Peacemaker Tries Hard number 1. But I think solid picks all around. I don't think we could have gone wrong picking any of those 3. Listeners, there's your list. Big shout-outs to Ben. Once again, big shout-outs to the whole Gotham City Limit team. If any of those pique your interest, go ahead and hit up your local comic shops. Get your pre-orders in now. And remember, even if you don't live in Jax, you can still take it to the limit. You can shop for comics, collectibles, and exclusive variant covers by going to GothamCityLimit.com. And that pretty much wraps us up for this segment. Eli, I got to give you a big shout out as well, man, and thank you so much for your assistance today. Like I said, you hopped on. You were willing to hop on last minute while you were fucking clashing with your dad on the Heritage auction, and then you agreed to come on the show. You taught me a little, taught me something new. You got me onto something new, and you've been great overall, man. So,
yeah, man.
I'm gonna have links to your socials. I'm gonna have links to Can I Thwipp It podcast and Cosmic Lion in the show notes for anyone interested in giving you a follow. But would you like to plug anything? You want to do any shameless plugs?
Absolutely. I'll always shamelessly plug. Well, first I do have I have a third podcast that I've been doing that's called The Devil in Detail, which is a Grendel read-through comic. Me and my dude Ben Granoff, another amazing comic book creator. And we are about 105 issues in. We've done the full cycle, and we're into Grendel Tales now. It's getting insane. So we're doing the Dave Cooper Grendel Tales with Susan Varigan. Absolutely beautiful book. I think we were talking about it, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
Cosmic Lion Productions, again, is coming out with new books. Oh, man. I'm actually a little behind because I'm supposed to have a rollout today of a new book. So I'll give you guys exclusive.
Exclusive.
Arcane #3, the final part of the trilogy of Arcane, of the first arc, is going to drop on Cosmic Lion Productions today, basically, if I can get my act together. We also have the Treasury edition. We also have the Treasury edition of Ghost Agents.
That looks sick.
Oversized, printed on newsprint.
Awesome.
That looks
Got
sick.
that glorious smell.
Is that on the Cosmic Lion website?
It's on the Cosmic Lion website. It's $30. Comes with a free sticker. As everything pretty much on Cosmic Lion does. We got Space Knights, which is killing it. Kevin Anthony Catalan, our wunderkind, who's like 26 years old, and he's just absolutely destroying it. We got Tales from the Wolf by Tony Wolf, who's a New York Times published artist, who's got the like slice of life books. Wizard 2, I still have some copies of that. Weird Myths from Ozon out in Turkey. There's just like a whole galaxy of Cosmic Lion books at your fingertips. CosmicLionProductions.com.
There we go, man. You know, you can. I'm sounding the triumphant horn on that one. All right. Our terrible horn sound effect. I only save for the best. All right.
Hell yeah.
All right, listeners, you heard the man, Eli, all right? He doesn't just talk about comics, but he be about it, all right? He really be about it. And, he was a fantastic co-host. I'll have links to all of that in the show notes. Go and support our guy, all right? Support independent comic creators, man. They do great work.
Absolutely.
And if you're watching on the YouTube, this is where we say goodbye. This is also where I recommend you hop over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast to hear the rest of the show. If you're already there, don't go nowhere, all right? Next up, we're going to announce a podcast-exclusive comic giveaway for our most loyal listeners. But first, I'm going to play some music from our longest-running music contributor. All right, I'm talking about Mecca the Marvelous. He's been providing dope beats and music for this show for years now, and he still finds time to drop full projects of his own, like the one that recently came out called Jane Doe. I'm going to play you a small teaser of one of my favorite songs off the project. It's called Relapse. Yeah, it's called Relapse, which you should kick back and relax while you enjoy it, and we'll be right back. All right, you see what I did there, Ed?
Yeah.
Was that good?
That's pretty good.
Was that a DC Dawn?
Better
Dawn a
than
DC
nothing.
effort? All right, we'll be right back, folks. All right. Good shit, Eli. Appreciate you, man.
Hell yeah, man.
Dude, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. And keep in touch, man. I'm ready to come on the show whenever we line it up. But, dude, you're doing some great work.
Hell yeah.
Great work.
Thanks, man.